The following feature presentation is part of the AllForSciFi podcast network.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
If you only knew the power of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
I'll be back.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. It's a trap! The needs of the many outweigh
The needs of the few.
for the one.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Live long and prosper.
Get away from her, you bitch! Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Take it away.
Goodbye.
Hello!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Stop saying that!
I see dead people.
So what? You said that.
Why so serious?
I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute!
What I do is not up to you.
Chewie. We're home.
I'm one with the force. The force is with me. I'm one with the force, and the force is with me. I'm one with the force, and the force is with me.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the All4Sci-Fi podcast network. I'm your host, Eric Walker, and sitting beside me is my sidekick, Captain Rickster.
That is definitely true.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. Today is Saturday, May 18th, 2019, and we're recording this live in Woodland Hills, California.
That's right.
Here's what you could expect on this episode of All4Sci-Fi.
You have no idea what's coming.
Mr. Wick broke the rules. I trust you understand the repercussions if he survives.
John Wick, excommunicado, is now in effect.
You shouldn't be here. Nice suit.
Good to see you too. I need your help.
After this, we are less than even.
There's no escape for you. The High Table wants your life.
Would you help set the mood for our new guest?
Let us begin.
Our service is still off limits to me.
What do you need?
Guns. Lots of guns.
You think you can take John Wick? You've got a nasty surprise coming.
I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. And so far, you haven't disappointed.
We can keep this up as long as you'd like. But this only ends one way.
All of this for what? Because of a puppy?
Wasn't just a puppy.
And this is the part of the podcast where I tell everybody, if you don't want spoilers, you're going to have to tune out. This is a free spoiler zone. I'm going to turn it around, flip it up backwards. This is a spoiler zone, not a spoiler-free zone, because today we're going to have a review and we're going to talk about and have a great discussion about John Wick 3. So if you haven't seen the movie, please come back after you've seen the movie, and then you could join in on the discussion. So here we go. Let's talk about John Wick 3 Parabellum.
Yes, I am ready.
Okay. So the movie starts off where John Wick II finished. It literally starts off like 10 or 15 minutes later, or like an hour later. Some crazy, but like almost exactly where the last one ended. This John Wick 3 starts.
That's true.
And so we have John Wick. He's running. He's just been shot or he's injured, whatever that may be. And he's running and he's hiding. And you hear them making the call to the table. And they've decided that they're going to go ahead and make him excommunicado. So now he's going to have a bounty on his head. And guess what? He does have a bounty on his head, and it's $14 million.
I could use some of that money.
So can I. We all could use it. And in fact, it goes up to $15 million shortly right there after that.
That's true.
So we have John Wick. He's excommunicado, and he's going to become excommunicado exactly at 6 o'clock at night. And they're counting down literally the minutes where the bounty and the contract on his life is going to happen. And he goes to the library.
Of all places, to a library.
He goes to a library when he's about ready to be excommunicadoed by these people. And while he's there, he runs into this tall dude that's like 7 or 8 foot tall. He's like the tallest guy in the world.
That's true. Very true.
He's pleading with the guy, wait a minute, it's not time yet, I got until 6 o'clock, and that guy says, they won't know if I killed you before 6 o'clock, so let's get it on now.
That's definitely true.
Poor John.
Yeah, he really gets abused in this one.
He does. So, he goes to the library because he's getting all his, he has a book, and in this book he has all his important things stashed, like a picture of him and his wife together, and also some coins that has some value, and including one like a blood oath coin that we soon find out was given to him by none other than the beautiful, the magnificent Halle Berry.
Oh, yeah.
Who shows up in this, and she is looking good.
Oh, no kidding.
And there's a lot of tension going on between John Wick and her. They don't say it, but I have a feeling they were together.
At least for a while.
Yeah. And you see, there's when he first runs into her later in the story, and I'm going off track like I usually do, right, Captain?
That's definitely true.
Later, we see pictures of Halle Berry and her character Sophia. We see pictures of Sophia and her daughter, and we learn that she, I think she had John take her daughter and hide her somewhere.
That's true.
And to me, that daughter looks mixed, so it makes me think that might be John Wick's daughter.
Yes.
What do you think?
I believe it is, yes.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, because they seem to have this sexual tension going on, didn't they?
That's definitely true.
Anyway,
she seemed a little uptight.
Well, wouldn't you be?
I would be too, yes.
Yeah. All the stuff that's going on, and here's her possible ex-lover or best friend in the world, and maybe the father of her child. I'm making stuff up here, folks.
Yeah,
go with me somewhere.
We really don't know yet.
But we don't know. We might find out in the future. That's depending on where they're taking the story. And if the filmmakers hear this podcast, you could borrow my idea if you didn't think about it.
That's definitely true.
Okay, so here he is. He has this big fight already in the library. And then he goes from there to the magic hour happening, 6 o'clock, and the $14 million contract happening on his life. And so he starts having people come out of everywhere. You're going to have every assassin in the entire world trying to pick up on this contract because it's 14 and 15 million friggin' dollars, right?
Really?
So he starts off with all these people trying to attack him, these other assassins, and he's in these stables. And what I found very neat and fascinating was all the fight choreography in this movie.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
It just blew my mind. I mean, at one point, John was even using the horse and having the horse, kick the person to knock him out, and that was very unique.
And then that probably hurt a lot too if you got connected by accident.
I don't know. Have you been kicked by a horse before that we don't know about?
Yeah.
You have, okay?
Yeah, and they don't feel good. Trust me.
Especially if they hit you in some private area, probably.
You got that right.
So he eventually jumps on top of this horse and drags the last guy out, and the fight scenes are just bitchin' in this movie.
Oh,
they're just
most definitely, yes.
They're just amazing. So now he's on the horse, and they're still trying. Some other assassins on motorcycles, try to, kill him off the horse, and he's even turning sideways to shoot them. And it's just the thing that I found very fascinating about this movie, and it came out in all the releases about how the actors did 98% of their stunts.
Yes, really.
And that to me is what really makes this movie. The fact that Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry, and she trained as well, I heard. The fact that they did all this training really, really is what makes this movie work and makes it sing, because it's the actual actors doing it. And they had to go through extensive training, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, yes, they have to do all the martial art work. Oh, yeah, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's for sure. And right now we're going to have an exclusive first look behind the scenes of John Wick 3 Parabellum.
I went into the training at least 5 months before. The physicality, the martial arts, and then the weapon work. All the time that I've put in, I'm just better at it.
Keanu trains his ass off. When we train him, we'll go for hours and hours and hours, and he just won't stop. It's amazing.
It really was one of the hardest training I've done, because there's a lot more action in Parabellum than there is in the other two films.
He trains for months. He does his own action. He is the most committed person that I've ever worked with. He does 98% of everything you see on screen.
Some people say they want to do John Wick training, and then it starts. And then they're like, oh, this is John Wick training. And when Halle said she wanted to do that, Chad said, here you go. And Halle said, thank you, sir. Can I please have some more?
Probably the hardest 6-7 months I think I've experienced in my professional life. I kept going because I would just not quit.
The best way to fake being good is just to be good. And that takes sweat, blood, and tears. It's a level of commitment that is not normal.
If you can say it, I've been doing it. I had to learn to fight one like Keanu, and I had to learn to fight with him in very close proximity. They're very much a team. This is just hard as shit, but it's also a lot of fun, and I have a great team of people that are teaching me and training me.
The real action really got to me, and it went eventually he gets away from him, and he goes back to this this area where it's not his mom, but it's kind of implied this is a lady who raised him like through this orphanage or something like that.
Right.
And that character was none only than Angelica Houston.
Oh yeah, somebody I haven't seen in a while in any movie, but she is so excellent in that.
What a great actress! It's just so awesome to see her on screen again. Thank you for bringing Angelica Houston back. And she didn't disappoint. She did a great job. But anyway, he's pleading with her that, you owe me, you need to help me out, even though I'm already dead and there's a contract on my life. You have to help me because,
You have to.
Right. So she eventually gets convinced, and she goes, what he wants from her is safe passage to Casablanca in Morocco.
In Morocco, yes.
And that is where we're coming to the story where Halle Berry comes in, because she is the manager of the hotel, the Continental Hotel in Morocco, in Casablanca. So apparently these Continental hotels for assassins where they go to rest are in every major city.
All around the world.
All around the world. So they imply this, and they even say there are there. So
yes, they do.
And Halle Berry became the manager of the Casablanca and took over for another manager who John Wick wants to see because he asked to talk with him.
Right.
And she thinks he's going to kill him, but that's not what he wants to get information from. And there's just funny bits all the way through this movie. It's just this movie's just loaded with great material. So
most definitely it is, yes.
So Halle Berry finally gets convinced to go ahead and take John to the ex-manager of the Continental Hotel.
I need your help.
After this, we are less than even.
Let's do this.
And because what John wants is, apparently there's some higher figure than the table. There's someone above the organization. He's almost like a god.
Yes.
And he wants to be taken to the person above everything so that he could, I guess, plead for his life. And
yeah, that's what he was doing.
Right. And this guy says to John, he kind of points him in the right direction of how to go find this guy, but says you have to walk in a desert for what a good reason for a desert scene, right? With sunsets. Beautiful sunsets. Oh, yeah. So he just tells John, you got to walk, and then when you feel like you're going to die, you walk some more, and then when you're dead, if this guy who's above everything and like God decides that you're worthy enough, he'll find you.
That's true.
So, and in the midst of all this stuff, we find that this ex-manager, hotel manager, is a total dickhead. Oh, most definitely. And he wants one of Halle Berry's dogs. And this was a big mistake in the movie.
Oh, no kidding.
He tells Halle Berry, you owe me, you shouldn't have brought John Wick to me because you know he's excommunicado and it could risk all of our lives, but to teach you and punish you, I want this dog. She says no, so he shoots the friggin' dog.
Yeah, really.
And the dog is dead, and it brings up a really funny line where, it really upsets Halle Berry because he just shot her dog. So.
Oh, no kidding.
So she goes and shoots him, and this huge gun battle, and they end up killing this ex-manager and everybody around, and they have a lot of great scenes with the dogs, but now suddenly there's 2 dogs again.
Yeah, I know.
And what happened? There wasn't 3 dogs earlier, so that's a big mistake. They don't really, and if it's not a mistake, they didn't explain it clearly. They made it seem like the dog was dead. Yeah. Even if it wasn't a mistake, and I missed something, it just came across wrong.
Yeah,
right?
That definitely did come across wrong, as it did.
I love the bits with the dogs though, fighting with Halle Berry and John Wick.
After something you don't want to lose.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
well trained in that department.
So now Halle Berry has helped John Wick out, and she's kind of served her service and her blood oath, and so John gives her coin back to her, puts blood on it, and says your blood oath is done. And here is another exclusive clip from John Wick 3.
You do realize that I'm management now, right? I'm not service anymore, John, so I don't go around shooting people in the head.
I'm not asking you to kill anyone. I just need you to get me to him.
To who?
Your old boss.
You want to kill Barada?
I'm not gonna kill him. I just need to talk.
What could he possibly give to you?
Guidance.
Look, I made a deal when I agreed to run this hotel. And that deal said that I had to follow the rules of the table. If you're not gonna kill him, he is gonna kill you. And then probably me too for walking you up in there.
They part ways, and John goes ahead and starts his trek off into the desert to find this mystical person above the table.
That's true.
So we go from there, and then we have these great sunset shots, with John going through the desert, and it's beautiful. But this is actually the part of the movie where it gets a little slow.
Yeah, it does.
So
that night scene was good too, because you actually really see and all the stars and stuff.
That was beautiful.
Actually see the Big Dipper and the Small Dipper up there, and follow the brightest star, because that's what it was told to do.
It was beautiful photography. I mean,
yes.
But it does give us some time. So if anybody wants to take a bathroom break, take it around this point in the movie. So before the major crash happens. Okay, so John eventually does kind of die. He falls out, and you see someone come and pick him up. I guess he's worthy enough. So he's taken back to the one above the table. He pleads. The guy says, "Why do you want your life? Why do you want me to spare your life?" And he says he wants to spare his life so that he can keep the memory of his wife, the love he had for his wife. And the guy thinks it's kind of corny, I guess, or weird. And I kind of agree with him. I think it's a beautiful sentiment, and a lot of women might get mad at me. And yes, love is beautiful, but she's dead. So. Why do you want to keep the thought of someone dead being dead?
That's true. You can't bring her back to life. Anyway,
so he decides to go ahead and spare John's life if he takes another life. So what he does is he tells John, if you kill Winston, who is John's friend, the manager of the Continental Hotel in New York,
right? If
you kill Winston, I will spare your life, cancel the contract. You're back into life, and you don't ever turn your back on us again. This is your life type of thing.
Right.
And before he leaves, he makes John cut off his finger.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And that was kind of gross.
Yeah, no kidding.
So John goes back to New York to do his service. And one of the things they do throughout this movie is they talk about we are of service, like to this higher thing. We are of service. You hear everybody repeating it.
Right.
So this adjudicator was played by Asia, what's her name? Asia Kate Dillon. And it was, she's the person you just want her to be killed.
She fits the part real perfect.
The adjudicator is there to try to figure out what went wrong, who was helping John out, how was he able to do all this. So she's there at the Continental Hotel, dealing with Winston. She's also dealing with the Bowery King, who is played by Lawrence Fishburne.
Which is really good, by the way.
Great actor. We hadn't seen him, since the Matrix movie. Well, we've seen him in other movies, but the Matrix movies with his buddy, Keanu, Reeves. So he did all those movies with him. So it's great to see him back. And so she basically is there, and she's trying to figure out for the table what to do with all these people. And there's going to be punishment because, they didn't follow through with everything. So
well, they just didn't kill him on the spot. They should have killed him first, and then if they would have done that, there'd been no problems. But that was the end of the story, and there'd be no more story left to tell.
Basically, here comes Keanu Reeves. He's coming back, and he's back in New York, and he goes back to the Continental Hotel where he's going to, he's supposed to kill Winston. And after talking with Winston, before he gets back to the hotel, he has a stop at the train station with these Asian assassins.
Yeah, Asian ninjas, yeah.
Right. It's here where they start to introduce a little bit of the ninja type of style, where the art of stealth. You know how ninjas, they're very stealthy. And
yes, they're definitely true. It was like magical mirrors almost, because you don't be able to see them. But it was actually pretty cool, because I know they can actually they do that pretty much in real life anyway. Ninjas do.
Well, yeah, they have the art of being there without being there. They're like almost invisible, and then suddenly they're there to attack you.
That's right.
And they did that a lot in this movie, and that was great. How they did a lot of the stealth ninja stuff, and it really added a lot to even the fight choreography as well.
Yes, I mean it was excellent. They did a great job of what they were doing. Choreography in that part of the movie was actually excellent. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. Reminds me of my childhood when they used to call me the Snake.
Oh, they called you the Snake, huh?
Yes, I was really stealth when I was a kid. I could sneak up on you and scare the living you-know-what out of you.
Right. Okay, so anyway, John is there, and after talking with Winston, I guess he decides not to kill him. And because, Winston is also kind of protecting him from this adjudicator and everybody else, and he's breaking the rules, so to speak.
A lot of rules.
Right. What happens is the hotel itself, because Winston will not give up his power. See, what happens is the adjudicator decides, because his punishment is he has to give up the Continental Hotel and just settles affairs. and turn it over to someone else because they don't trust him any longer.
Yes,
and he's
true.
like, wait a minute here, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been there for the table and everything, and she doesn't want to have it. She doesn't want to hear about it. So because he will not, give up control, and that's his punishment, and because John Wick's character will not kill Winston because it's his friend, the hotel then becomes deconsecrated.
In the John Wick universe, each of the major cities around the world has a continental hotel, a place of refuge where you can have that moment of calm before you have to step back out on the streets and defend yourself.
Rules. Without them, we live with the animals.
The world of the Continental is more explored this time.
We always joke that in the first movie we had a lobby and a room. The second one, we got to have a few more rooms. And now, with the third one, we have the Continental. It's fun to just go bigger and bolder.
Each one of them increasing the amount of world building on a really unique and interesting level.
The gold coins, the speakeasy, what can we infuse into each film?
Mr. Wick broke the rules. I trust you understand the repercussions.
John breaks one of the most hard and fast rules in the Continental. All his privileges have been revoked, so there's nowhere to hide.
The high table wants your life. There's no escape for you.
Let's do this.
Because of that, it's no longer a safe haven. So now anybody could go and kill anybody on the property. So that is at that point in the movie is when all hell breaks loose. And even though it's like an hour, 30 minutes into the movie, that's when really the biggest action starts.
Yeah, it's actually, you get to see body armor getting shot and they're not getting killed until you have to either move up their helmet a little bit, shoot them in the neck to kill them. Because the body armor, they weren't piercing until they got the shotgun.
Then he went back and got the armor piercing stuff.
Oh yeah, that was actually good. See someone's head get blown off. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of really neat little bits in the movie. Like for instance, with the ninjas, at one point they're fighting John, and right in the middle of this big fight, two of them have to stop the fight because they're having this fanboy moment with John Wick. That's their an honor to fight him and meet him, and they're all googly-eyed, and it's kind of funny. And then they tease him. They say, "Well, you're pretty slow. We thought you've been retired for 5 years." And
you have to remember though, he's fighting two different people.
Yeah, he is, and that's what I thought.
Time. So I'd be a little slow too if I was fighting two different people at the same time.
Exactly. It doesn't matter whether you've been retired for 5 years. It was a funny bit. And then John, of course, he had a moment. Because of that moment, he was able to pause in the middle of the fight, and he was able to take off his belt. So he was able to get the upper hand using his belt in his fight, so that actually helped him.
Yes, it did. He wasn't really all that slow until they kind of.
He wasn't.
He figured it out. They finally figured it out that he was actually better than what they were with using that belt. That's why they kind of lost what they were doing.
Yeah, and here's an exclusive clip we have from the director of John Wick 3, Chad Stahelski. And it's important to note that he also was the fight choreographer on all the Matrix movies. So it's starting to make sense why all the action scenes are so great in John Wick 3.
So the scene we're seeing here is after John Wick comes back from seeing someone called the Elder in Morocco, in Casablanca actually. And he's come back and he's entered into this battle in the Continental with high table emissaries and characters named Zero, students, or in this case we call them ninja or shinobi. The two best of Zero's guys are what we see on screen right now, which is they're just Shinobi 1 and 2 in the character list, but it's actually Yeon and Chep. Yeon and Chep you might recognize from Gareth Evans' The Raid and The Raid 2. Both incredible practitioners, both of martial art choreography and of Pencak Silat, which is an Indonesian martial art made famous again in The Raid. And then when we went to the choreography, John Wick's style is more of a grappling art, judo, jiu-jitsu kind of thing, and theirs is more of a dual punching, kicking, flipping, flying, very kinetic kind of martial art choreography. And they knock them through this big pile of glass. And then you see Keanu in the background as the two, Chep and Yeon, having a dialogue. You'll see John Wick in the background trying to get up and falling back down. And the story behind the actual take I used is Keanu was just supposed to get up and ignore the handshake, but that's actually Keanu falling back down and getting back up. Like, We go long days on John Wick. It's like 12, 13 hours of just fighting. So I think by the time we got that sequence, we had to knock Keanu down. He got back up. He kind of fell on some of the glass. Choreography is much more like dance than martial arts. Any good choreographer or stunt choreographer will tell you that, when you fight competitively, you're trying to disrupt the other person, you're trying to hurt the other person. Stunt choreography or stunt fighting is the exact opposite. You're trying to make space. It's like dance. You're trying not to step on the partner's toes, help them to look good, and try not to get punched in the face in the process. Also in Pencak Silat, they use the curved blade knife that you see on screen called the karambit. And Keanu at least attempted to start the fight with a small katana, a Japanese sword. And then Chep and Yin obviously are much, much faster and much more full of alacrity than our John Wick, because he's already been beaten up for almost 2 hours of the film. So we had this idea that John Wick just continually gets beat up, but reverts back to just ear slapping and groin kicking and biting, and trying to, what it's like to actually grapple with two little feral animals. And that's kind of what we got. The glass house you see is part of the Continental. It's Winston's, which is the manager and owner of the Continental. And we just always thought it'd be cool to have ninjas in the movie. And where can ninjas have the hardest amount of time hiding? In a glass house. So we kind of use that to highlight, when we do action, a lot of what we do is try to put in a great set piece. And we thought a really great idea was something I'd seen in Architectural Digest, which was a guy built a house out of glass. And I thought that was, as far as architectural art goes, very, very inspirational. About how do you hide cameras, how do you hide reflections, where do I hide the crew, how I can shoot through the floors, look through the ceilings, how do you have a gunfight, sword fight, fist fight in a glass house? And that's kind of where we got our inspiration. So after much debating and arguing with certain money people, we finally got it okay to build a $4 million glass structure, which for John Wick is a very big expense.
All throughout this movie, there's just nonstop, bloodshed and killing of assassins. So, I was going to ask you, Rick, there's probably, this is, of all the movies I've seen, this is probably the most killings and deaths I've seen in a movie.
Yes.
Does that bother the viewer more when it's assassins getting killed?
I would think it would be not appropriate for anybody that's under the age of 17 to see it, because it might give too many ideas to kids who think they might want to try that stuff.
Didn't think about
and
that.
It doesn't go with me on that part.
Okay.
So adults will probably be okay with it, especially if they've seen John Wick 1 and 2 to follow the storyline.
Right.
But I would not bring a kid under the age of 17 to try to give them any ideas to try to do, like they're having problems now with kids shooting other kids in schools and stuff.
Yeah, good point. It wasn't really what I asked, but yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, though, because that is a very important point. Kids don't get any ideas from these type of movies. My question was the fact that there's a lot of deaths involved. It doesn't make it okay and more palatable because they're assassins. Like, does it make them less people, less human? They killed a lot of people.
They kill other people too, but they're humans like us. They don't. You have to put your emotions away when you actually do something to somebody like that.
Right.
And it takes a lot out of you, especially on your first time you ever done anything like that.
Okay.
But when you do it over and over and over again, you build up a wall around you where you can't feel it anymore.
Oh, well, that makes sense. And of course, if they're assassins, they've killed a lot of people.
That's definitely true.
So your take on it is assassins are people too. But my take on it is they overdid it in the movie, and I think the producers think they could get away with it because they're assassins anyway.
That's true. Yes, that I do believe.
Right. And coming back to our discussion, here at All4Sci-Fi, we have a rating scale. It's 0 to 5 stars. And John Wick gets a 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Yes.
It's that perfect. It's really close to being the best movie of the year. I would put it second. I'm still going to give Avengers Endgame the number 1 spot.
Oh, yes, most definitely, until we see Godzilla.
Uh-oh, here we go. We're talking about Godzilla, and it hasn't happened yet. But there's a lot of shows this summer season, and we're going to cover every movie for you out there and have a great discussion about it. I thought that the fight choreography in the movie was excellent. It's some of the best I've ever seen in my entire life. I haven't seen fight choreography this good in a movie since Bruce Lee,
to be honest. Most definitely true. I mean, I haven't seen anything that good in probably a good 20 years.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, Bruce Lee's movies are 40 years ago, so it goes even further back. But I'm not saying that, these movies are better than Bruce Lee or anything like that. What I'm saying is it's pretty obvious that these actors have had some training. And a lot of the photography in the movie, a lot of the shots, they actually have wide angles, and you get to actually see the fight scene as opposed to all this quick cutting, close-ups to seeing him hit somebody because the person can't move.
Yeah, that's
so they have no ability at all, but they're trying to do fight scenes. So that's what I like most about, and we had touched on that earlier in the show. We talked about how the actors, it's been rumored that they did 98% of their stunts, and it really shows. I mean, it shows in the photography, and it's really nice to actually get to see more of the entire scene. Keep it up. You guys are doing a great job. And I think that a lot of this greatness from this movie has to be given to Keanu Reeves because he trains very, very hard, and he really gets into his characters as if they're real. So
yes, I give you props on that.
Yeah, and even Halle Berry, she trained. And I saw some clips online where she talked about this is the hardest she ever trained for a movie. So
that's definitely true.
So everybody go out and see John Wick 3 Parabellum, and it's really, this movie's set up to do a lot of sequels.
Oh, most definitely.
Keep it up. We can't wait to see John Wick 4 coming soon. You're back. Way to go. Now it's time for us to discuss everything that's on television sci-fi wise. From streaming on Netflix to HBO to regular cable and also network television, we're going to discuss everything television. Here we go.
I know death. He's got many faces. I look forward to seeing this one.
Everything you did brought you where you are now. Where you belong. Home.
They're coming. Our enemy doesn't tire. Doesn't stop. Doesn't feel. I promise to fight for the living. I intend to keep that promise.
There's been a lot of complaints on the internet about what happened last week in Game of Thrones, the latest episode. Does anybody want to talk about how they ruined 7 years worth of building a franchise in, one episode? They really blew that.
They really cut that one up real bad.
So much so that there's an online petition that has like almost 1 million signatures for Game of Thrones they're asking HBO to rewrite the season and redo it over.
And get new writers at that.
Yeah, new writers too.
If they're no good.
No, I disagree with that. I think that the episode was still good, but I don't like how they went the easy route. I think that it was lazy writing. I'm not trying to, I'm a fellow industry professional, so I'm not trying to badmouth any writers, but I think that they're right. They had 7 years with building up this, this Dragon Queen character, and how she had some humanity in her, and then suddenly we knew she was a little bit crazy, but come on, it was just.
Yeah, I know, huh?
You don't need to go and kill all those innocent, children and women and destroy. Basically, she just destroyed the entire kingdom that she's just trying to get on the Iron Throne, where there's nothing there now. So who's she going to be the queen of? The one dragon she has left. So.
Yeah, she should be whacked off herself, along with the dragon.
You know what? Tomorrow is the final episode of Game of Thrones. Everybody, maybe I could predict this the day before. Wouldn't it be great if Arya killed the Dragon Queen?
That would be cool.
Since she killed the Night Walker King, that'd be awesome.
That'd be definitely awesome.
Would that redeem it? If she kills the Dragon Queen, would that redeem it?
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I agree, Eddie. They did mess up royally. They spent, and the show is much loved by a lot of people, including myself, and they could have done better. That's for sure.
No kidding. That last one, that last one they just did, was really lazy. I mean, come on, give me a break. I've seen better ones.
Well, after they had that great episode, the long night episode where they were fighting all the Night Walkers. Yeah. That was such a great episode. It was a little bit dark, but it was a great episode.
But then they did that episode, and it's like, really?
Also on television, on Thursday, we had the final episode, not just of the season, but the final episode of The Big Bang Theory.
That's definitely true.
So The Big Bang Theory is no longer going to be on television. We won't see, Sheldon and all their little antics there, and Penny, and that was it. That show had a great run. I'm sorry to see it go. So
really,
I thought, unlike Game of Thrones, although we haven't seen a final episode of Game of Thrones, I think The Big Bang Theory did it right.
That's true.
The last episode, they had, Sheldon and his wife, Amy. They both won the Nobel Peace Prize for physics.
That's good.
So, and they talked about it the entire 12 seasons.
Yes, they did.
And it was a great payoff. And not only that, Penny, Leonard Hofstadter, also got to mention that Penny was pregnant, so she's expecting.
Yeah, she's expecting, yeah.
The Big Bang Theory was a great, great final episode. Sorry to see it go, but they could take that show and do a whole bunch of other TV series. They're already doing it now with the young Sheldon. They're showing,
that's true.
But they could come back and have Raj and his friend do their own show. Penny and Leonard could do their own show as well.
Oh, of course.
And then they could have Sheldon come on every once in a while. And I understand the reason why this was the last season. Obviously The Big Bang Theory is a great show and it has high ratings.
That's right.
But the guy who played Sheldon Cooper no longer wanted to do the show. He felt he had done it long enough. So he actually made the call and said he didn't want to do it, play it anymore.
Right.
And is that selfish? You putting a lot of people out of work, or I don't know. I don't know.
I can't think of what he's figuring out in his mind on that one. He should have kept it going.
You think he should have?
But hey, sometimes enough is enough.
That's true, and it was 12 seasons, so I think they had a lot to say, and they had a lot of great episodes for sure. So we're all going to miss The Big Bang Theory, and now we just get to see it in reruns. And in tribute to The Big Bang Theory, let's take a look back at all their 12 seasons.
Kaito! Kaito! Kaito!
Excuse me, you're misusing the word ho. It's an interjection used to call attention to a destination, not an object, as in land ho or westward ho.
Hey guys, what you doing? Going out to discover electricity?
If you're referring to the work of Benjamin Franklin, he did not discover electricity. He merely used a kite to determine that lightning consists of electricity. He also invented the Franklin stove, bifocals, and the flexible urinary catheter. Kaito.
Hey Sheldon, what are you doing here?
This is a restaurant. It's lunchtime. I would think as a waitress you'd be familiar with the paradigm.
Is Leonard coming?
No, I believe Leonard is waiting for you to come crawling back to him and apologize.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
I assume that would be your attitude, hence my true purpose in coming here.
Which is?
I want you to crawl back to him and apologize.
I'm busy.
Excuse me, miss. I'd like to order lunch.
Fine. What do you want?
I have a few questions. First, I noticed that you offer soup and a half sandwich.
Yes.
Where exactly does the half sandwich come from? Are you giving me half of someone else's sandwich? Or do I have to wait for someone else in the restaurant to order the other half?
No, Sheldon, they just make a half sandwich.
You can't make a half sandwich. If it's not half of a whole sandwich, it's just a small sandwich.
Okay, fine. It's soup and a small sandwich. Is that what you want?
No, of course not. I'll have my usual.
Great.
But aren't you going to ask me if I want a beverage?
Don't you usually get lemonade?
Yes.
You want lemonade?
Yes.
Anything else?
Yes, I want you to apologize to Leonard.
Okay, now you gotta help me put these on.
All right.
But don't look.
Don't look?
I don't want you to see me naked.
Oh, well, that's understandable. You may be interested to know that a prohibition against looking is well established in heroic mythology. Lot and his wife, Perseus and Medusa, Orpheus and Eurydice.
Yeah, great.
They always look. It never ends well.
Okay, now you gotta help me get my arm into the sleeve.
Okay.
Is that my arm?
It doesn't feel like an arm.
Then maybe you should let it go.
All righty. Did Leonard know about this? Leonard's my best friend in the world. Surely Leonard didn't know.
Actually, it was his idea.
Of course it was. The whole plan reeks of Leonard.
Sheldon, you can't train my girlfriend like a lab rat.
Actually, it turns out I can.
Well, you shouldn't.
There's just no pleasing you, is there, Leonard? You weren't happy with my previous approach to dealing with her, so I decided to employ operant conditioning techniques, building on the works of Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. Yet by this time next week, I believe I can have her jumping out of a pool, balancing a beach ball on her nose.
No, this has to stop now.
I'm not suggesting we really make her jump out of a pool. I thought the bazinga was implied. We're just tweaking her personality. You're sanding off the rough edges, if you will.
No, you're not sanding Penny.
Are you saying that I am forbidden from applying a harmless, scientifically valid protocol that will make our lives better?
Yes, you're forbidden.
Bad, Leonard. Hold.
What?
Explain your sneeze.
I'm sorry?
Do you have allergies?
No.
Is there too much pepper on your salad?
I don't put pepper on salads.
I've heard enough. Sit over there.
Come on, I don't want to sit by myself.
That's what Typhoid Mary said, and clearly her friends buckled.
Guys, help me.
Sheldon, come on.
Yeah, it's just one sneeze. You're on your own.
See you, buddy.
You're looking for a job.
A menial job. Like yours.
Why, thank you for noticing. I'm Menial Employee of the Month. Do you have a particular field in mind?
I do. For thousands of years, the lowest classes of the human race have spent their lives laboring to erect monuments under the lash of their betters, until finally they dropped down and became one with the dust through which they trudged. Do you have anything like that?
No.
Shouldn't you check your database?
No.
People learn at different rates, unlike objects falling in a vacuum, which... MA equals MG...
Squared?
No.
Aristotle?
No.
5?
Oh,
then I don't know.
why are you crying?
Because I'm stupid.
Well, that's no reason to cry. One cries because one is sad. For example, I cry because others are stupid and it makes me sad.
Okay, look, can we just please forget about all this extra stuff and can you just tell me what Leonard does?
All right. Leonard is attempting to learn why subatomic particles move the way they do.
Really? That's it? Well, that doesn't sound so complicated.
It's not. That's why Leonard does it.
Sheldon?
Yes?
Listen, they're kind of getting busy in the living room, and I was wondering if I could hang out in here for a while.
Well, I suppose. Come in. I'll sleep in Leonard's room. Good night. I would point out that I am at the top of my profession while you preside over the kiddie table of yours.
Dr. Cooper, before I fine you in contempt and throw you in jail, I'm going to give you a chance to apologize for that last remark.
I'm a scientist. I never apologize for the truth. That's my spot.
Let's talk about your grandmother.
No. I call no meemaws.
Think about this. The only way your mother was born was your meemaw had sex.
I don't want to hear this.
Then let go of the ring and walk away.
Never.
All right, I'll bet your meemaw didn't just have sex to have your mother. I bet she had sex because she liked it.
Stop it!
Yeah, meemaw did the nasty.
I said stop
it! We're getting to him.
Waterfalls!
What?
Waterfalls, crashing waves, babbling brooks.
What are you doing?
Subliminal messaging. I'm going to make you want to pee. Dripping faucets, leaky gutter, peeing.
It's not working, dude.
Oh, it's working all right. I have to pee.
Then let go of the ring and go.
Well, actually, I wouldn't mind going too.
Fine, on the count of 3. 1, 2...
Wait, just to clarify, when you get to 3, do we stand up or do we pee?
We stand up.
Excellent choice.
So, what do you say, Sheldon? Are we your X-Men?
No. The X-Men were named for the X in Charles Xavier. Since I am Sheldon Cooper, you will be my C-Men.
Oh, that's not a good name.
Come here!
Bazinga. 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 All right, say hello to your mother for me.
Okay.
What?
Said you were going for a walk.
I didn't say outside.
So what, you're just gonna walk up and down the stairs?
No, of course not. That would be odd and suspicious behavior.
Here, Ruffles. Here, boy.
Which way are you going?
Which way are you going?
I parked my scooter down the block.
I'm going the other way. Bye.
Bye. Well, actually, I'm this way.
One question. How can you be sure it won't blow up?
The laser?
The moon.
See, now this is a man for Penny.
That's a great question, Zach.
No, it's not.
Sheldon, play nice.
Well, it's not a great question. How could somebody possibly think we're going to blow up the moon? That's a great question.
Sorry, boys. Say hi to your mother when she picks you up. Or I could just tell her later tonight. And the next morning, when he woke up, he rolled over and realized, dun, dun, dun. She was his cousin.
That's still not funny.
That's still not funny.
And she was my second cousin.
And she was my second cousin.
You're a real douche.
Who cares? You slept with your cousin!
And a big congratulations to Chuck Lorre and the cast and everyone at The Big Bang Theory. Thank you for 12 wonderful seasons. And this is a great start to the 2019 summer movie scene.
Yes.
And guess what's coming up soon?
Aladdin.
Well,
Or
I'm not.
besides that, Godzilla.
There you go. I'm surprised Captain Rickster's been doing nothing but talk about Godzilla. I'm going to see that movie 3 times. And the first movie during our live podcast he brings up is Aladdin. And that's funny. I am not looking forward to seeing Aladdin because I love Robin Williams too much.
Right, me too.
And I really hope, Will Smith, you're a very competent actor. He's very good. I hope he doesn't try to act like Robin Williams acted and he creates his own character. Because if he does, it's going to really piss off a lot of people.
No kidding. But Godzilla is going to be really good, especially when they bring back all his old monsters and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going to be, the early buzz, it's really good.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the best monster movies ever made.
That's definitely true. And especially since it started back in 1953 to now.
Is that when it started?
Yeah. So this would be the 24th movie.
Wow.
That they're making right now.
The 24th Godzilla movie?
24th Godzilla
Wow.
movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I know. How did Godzilla start out? Was it a comic book? You would know that.
No, it started out as a book, a Japanese book who wrote it back in the early 50s. And then they actually brought it to the movie scene. And if you look at the evolution of Godzilla, you'll notice a lot of difference from it started in 1953 until today's date. There's been more than one Godzilla. There's actually been 3 total Godzillas so far.
Okay.
The first one died in the very first movie, but no one knew he had a son. So
I didn't know that.
No one did. But the son came out later, and up until the 2002 movie. No, 2002 movie.
Right.
He actually died from radiation poisoning. All the radioactivity he had in his body, he actually melted down. But then no one knew they knew they had another son.
Right.
So that's the new Godzilla today.
Well, I've learned something new. I did not know that, Captain Rickster. And speaking of that, this marks the end of our podcast and our special on John Wick 3 Parabellum. So be sure to go out and see the movie, help it make $1 billion, and be sure to come back every week as this summer movie season is just getting started. There are a lot of movies, a lot of sci-fi films coming out, a lot of sci-fi television shows, and we're going to cover it all just for you. I'm your host, Eric Walker, saying goodbye for now. All the music on today's episode was composed and written by Eric Walker. To learn more about Eric's music, please visit ericwalkermusic.com.